Another video to cross his board, so we'll keep this one civil since he wasn't too nasty. But yeah, he's just again saying that there's no other interpretation but his interpretation of the existing evidence. And let's be clear, the existing evidence when you're talking about 900,000 years ago or 2 million years ago is scant. Okay, it's very small evidence. Even the radioactive study, I mean, the isotopes in the chemistry of the bones and the teeth, there can be different conclusions drawn based on the evidence. What the evidence demonstrates is that we either ate grass or we ate animals that ate grass. It doesn't say we ate meat, but whatever. Really no point in arguing it to death. I'll just point out that yes, we're not built like a carnivore. We're not built to eat raw meat. It's just not a very productive diet. Just isn't. Okay, bone marrow is another issue. Sure, fat, sort of like bears, and salmon. Yeah, they'll strip the fat out of a salmon and take advantage of that resource. But they're basically vegetarians. I've never contended we weren't opportunists, and if there was something palatable that we would eat it. I'm sure, especially when it's a matter of life and death, as it often might have been. But let's consider the facts. So of all the friggin' apes, of all the primates, we're the only meat-eating survivor. So all the other primates that ate meat 2 million years ago or 1 million years ago or 900,000 years ago, they all died off. So maybe that should tell us something, that maybe meat-eating didn't work. But I think it says something else, and I think that the real answer here is that we obtained technology. Okay, we left the trees, and like baboons, we ate grass, we ate whatever we could find. We became a herd animal in a sense, but what we did is we went into a territory where we didn't have defenses, okay, where there was real animals that could rip us to pieces. And so we created weapons. We created a way to protect ourselves from those animals. All right, that was how our brains developed, is that we had to find strategies for life, because we were living through transition. We were living in environments we weren't adapted to. Okay, we went from one environment to a new environment. And I probably think the same transitions probably took place later in our evolution. When you go back to 70,000 years ago, when we entered Europe again, and this time with the big brain, those people weren't migratory, all of them. No, they were living in caves on the coast. Okay, and what probably happened was they were living rather well, and they overpopulated, and then they spread. And that's basically, we can see that pattern in human behavior. So that's the more likely explanation, is that success breeds the failure of overpopulation. And so then you have to keep moving. You have to keep conquering new environments, because there isn't going to be enough space for all of you. And so humans did that. They met that challenge. They conquered new environments, and of course they exploited things. And then we became more and more dependent on this idea of, yes, let's take what the animals have. Let's take everything the environment has to give us. And we exploited that. But there's been many civilizations, American Indians, South America, that they primarily lived on something besides meat. All right. So it's still a bogus argument. It's what we're best suited for, is digesting simpler compounds, carbohydrates, and there's no real point in making this, going over and over this. There's no native necessity for us to eat meat, and many medical people will tell you that biologically it's a hindrance to our system. All right, we have a long digestive tract, because it's made to absorb these carbohydrates, get the nutrition out of them. We don't have multiple stomachs because we're not eating a bunch of shaft and weeds, but still the bottom line is we have a slow metabolism, and there's no productivity. It's toxic even to introduce something that's going to sit in your digestive tract, something like meat that has, and so we can see it. There's connections with cancers and all kinds of stuff because of meat eating. It's not a healthy diet. It's not our suited diet. It's not our natural diet. It's not our native diet. It's not any of that crap. It's a fucking diet we contrived, just like the first scavengers you were talking about. It's a contrived behavior. And let's just remember, no other primate that was primarily a meat eater survived into the modern era. So I don't think it's been demonstrated to be the successful or right living strategy. And I would still argue that, yes, we're basically biologically in no way made to eat meat, raw meat. So it's a stupid argument. So this is probably the last point that needs to be made on this issue. But yeah, I think it's a good thing to think about. The tools and weapons were probably first invented not to, extract something from the environment, except defense, protection. Because we really weren't very strong. We weren't fast, we weren't strong, we weren't massive, we had no real equipment to defend ourselves on the ground.